Our identity is the single most important pattern in our life. Our identity determines what we think, what we feel, what we say, and what we do. And the reason it determines these is these are the ingredients of identity. How do we recognize another person or ourselves? Well, at a superficial level, we look in the mirror and we recognize a pattern of light, a pattern of proportions, a pattern of colors and textures. And we say, that's me. Now, how do we know that's me? Well, we saw it there before. So identity is built up of a coherent pattern. And it is the default mode or template for all human activity, be it thought, words, feelings, or behavior. Now, the prerequisite or the requirement of an identity is that it be stable. It has to be a coherent, perceivable pattern. Otherwise, we get lost. We don't know who we are. Now, we can't function when we don't know who we are. What do you want to do? What's your response to this? Well, I don't know. Am I a liberal? Am I a conservative? Do I believe this? Do I believe that? See, depending on what we believe, depending on what we think, depending on the thoughts we identify with and the beliefs that we identify with, any series of behaviors makes sense. If I'm a radical white supremacist skinhead and I see an African American in distress or able to be harmed, I know what to do because that's my identity. My job is to go over and make their life miserable in some way because I have a series of beliefs that make that behavior intelligent. You know, beginning with the country would be better off if everyone was white. Well, if you believe that the country's better off if everyone is white, then your duty is to, in some way, exportation, persecution, killing, murder, your job is to get rid of people who aren't white. If you believe that men make better presidents than women, it's your duty to make sure. You know, the suffragists, in contention with the status quo, believed that the country would be better if women voted. And the status quo said, no, it'll be a disaster. What will be the point? It'll be terrible. You see, but each of these people, every single person today, identifies, meaning they believe their beliefs. They're not just my beliefs. I believe my belief. I identify. That's me. If that belief goes away, then I go away. And if my stable reference point, my anchor goes away, I get lost. And if I get lost, I can't function. I can't respond. Because if I don't know if I believe in communism or capitalism, then I don't know who to vote for. If I don't know whether I think the Atkins diet is better or worse than the whatever diet, I don't know what to eat. I'm lost. And without a filtering system to reduce the vast amounts of energy that are fluctuating multidimensionally all around us, without a way to process and orient to information, we are buffeted around aimlessly by the largest mass of energy in our midst. You've met people like that. You go in and you convince them with some assertiveness that this is the way it should be, and they say, yes, I agree with you. And then someone comes in with the exact opposite opinion, says, this is how it should be for these reasons. They say, yes, I agree with you. And the first person comes back and, there's pressure, stop changing. We want you to agree with us, but we also want you to make that part of your identity. We want you to identify, to set that in your template. You are a military man in a military family. Well, it's perfectly obvious what you need to do. Then you need to go to war. I mean, what's the point of a military if there's no fighting anywhere? And never will be any. Well, what's your job then? You've got to defend your identity. You've got to find some basis to fight. And it's a moving target. The social justice warriors started out with, the most obscene and despicable person on this thing, but then that wasn't good enough. Now these people have to be deplatformed. Because if you're a social justice warrior, and that's your primary identity, you can't be ruining innocent people's lives. You've got to ruin horrible people's lives who were doing horrible things. So who are they? Where are they? I'm a social justice warrior who fights horrible people doing horrible things. Where are they? Where are they? What have they done? How are they ruining people's lives? How can we stop them? Well, the identity has a momentum of its own once it becomes a stable reference point. And it leads. If I am a hammer, and that's all that exists, you are nails. A hammer bangs nails. You must be a nail because I'm a hammer. Well, identity as the default reference point for all human thought and all human behavior, generating in the synergy of thought and behavior all emotion. So emotion is like a thermometer. The human heart is like a thermometer, and it gives you a reading. A thermometer is a scientific object that measures temperature. The temperature goes up to 87 degrees, the thermometer goes up with it. And you look at the thermometer and you say, it must be 87 degrees. The human heart is a thermometer of human state created, emerging out of the confluence of thought, of belief, of behavior, and of the sensations that come from those thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors. And words. Words are simply a symbolic language, but, if you've seen a horrible image every time you've heard this word, this word flashes war, and you've seen 1,000 images of bloody people suffering next to that word. Well, you hear the word war, and it's a horrible feeling, because your body remembers those 1,000 images. They were all tight and uncomfortable, and so you just get a little bit of tightness and feeling, or you numb out because it's become a corrupt symbol. It's thrown into too many places, so why listen to it? I've never been chopped up in a million pieces when that symbol comes on. It's overvalued. You've cried wolf with that symbol too much. If you knew that symbol meant this, and every time someone said war, 10 minutes later one of your family members was chopped to bits, Well, it would be a very powerful symbol because it'd give you 5 minutes to protect your family. But if you heard the symbol 10 million times, nothing has ever happened to you or around you. It's just an abstract symbol. It's not connected viscerally to anything you know. But feelings emerge around beliefs, around thoughts, around words which produce beliefs and thoughts, and beliefs and thoughts that produce words. There's an ecology going back and forth there. And feelings tell you how you're doing. This is a recipe of thoughts, beliefs, behavior, and sensation that generates this feeling. You know, you combine warm air coming in off the coast with a cold front coming down, and you get this temperature. You combine this belief and this thought and these behaviors, and you get these sensations. And with these sensations in your body, you get these feelings. So it's a scientific thermometer that if you know how to read the thermometer, it will tell you the temperature of your thoughts, the temperature of your beliefs, the temperature of your behavior. It'll give you data. That's not going in a very good place. That's going in a great place. This is going in a horrible place on its way to an even better place. You know, sometimes you drive through a mountain range and you go down into the valley and it's very, very cold. But the road takes you through the valley before you get to the mountainside on the other side where it's very hot. So you may be at 60 degrees, and in order to get to 80 degrees, you may have to, if the landscape dictates it, go down to 30 degrees before getting up to 80 degrees. So it's not a simple reading, meaning if the person took their thermometer and held their thermometer and says, you know, we're going to get to 80 degrees, and they're driving down the road into the valley that drives up on the other side of the valley into the mountain, so we got to turn around because I don't see clearly. All I know is I'm trying to get to 80 degrees as I drive down the hill and getting colder and colder. That doesn't look good unless you know the terrain, which is why the map of reality is perhaps the single most valuable thing that a human ego, an individual, possesses, is their map of reality. Because the map of reality is not reality. It's the guide that helps to navigate a reality that is infinitely more complex than the map is. You see, maps are very simple. That's how we can relate to them with a very simple mind. You know, they show the roads, but they don't show the smells. They show the bridges, but they don't show how many pine needles there are on, or how many trees you're going to pass. So I can't count 360,000 trees. And is that a shrub or a tree right there? I don't want that. Give me mile stakes. I don't want to think. I don't want to be aware. The third crooked pine tree past the old red house where the crocuses emerge from at a 45-degree angle next to a rusted culvert. Turn left there. No, 308 meters. Tell me I'm at the meter and turn left using my GPS. That's what I want, because I don't have to be aware. I've got a map that works, that requires, it's very narrow dimensional, just turn left or turn right or go straight ahead at this miles per hour, and I will arrive at the desired address. It's a crude map. It's a simple map. It's effective by eliminating most of reality and focusing in on a couple of guide points that get me where I want to go. And that's what an acculturated mind needs. to navigate a multidimensional world where beliefs are being buffered by beliefs, by where memes are banging into other memes, where one cycle is beginning as another ends, where they're both part of a larger cycle that will not even be perceived for another 200 years because the wave curve of that cycle is too big to grasp on a day-to-day basis. But we come back to identity. Identity is the thing that I know is me. And I need a position. It's a position in all the continuums of identity. There's the entire continuum of thought, the entire continuum of speech. And each of these, of course, break down into infinite subcategories. When we say the continuum of speech, that breaks down into the subcategory of pitch. How do I recognize if that's me in the camera there? Well, when I press play, the voice comes back at a pitch that's the same pitch that I heard speaking, or close to it. It doesn't sound like me. Meaning, I hear my voice different, measuring my voice going this way and measuring it in stereo here. Then the camera measures my voice. My camera is over there. My camera hears me this way, I hear me this way. Is it me? Is there anyone else I know that sounds more like? Must be me. And so there's a continuum of pitch. There's a continuum of timing. Does that person talk as fast or slow as I talk? There's a continuum of subject matter. That doesn't sound like the kinds of subjects I would be interested in. Now, how do I know what subjects I'd be interested in? Well, I look to my past. Have I ever been interested in those subjects before? I never read a book on Buddhism. I didn't read one in 1999. I didn't read one in 1998. I didn't read a book on Buddhism in 1997. That doesn't sound like something I would do. You see, an identity, like cults, are self-referential. The main question that most of us ask in a psychologically illiterate state is not, is this intelligent? Intelligent is the efficiency with which energy is transformed into sustainable human well-being. Meaning, if we're intelligent, we need very little energy and sustainably produce vast amounts of human well-being for ourselves and other people and our ecology. If we're damned fools, we consume vast amounts of an unsustainable ecology in order to produce large amounts of misery for ourselves, our other people, and our children. And so this is referencing intelligence. But identity is self-referential because the cult is self-referential. You know, the American cult doesn't examine itself relative to the Danish cult. You know, America is number one because it's number one, and that's why we're number one. If you look at Denmark, when I traveled to Denmark, I discovered, to my great surprise, a 400% higher quality of life in Denmark, on average, than I'd seen anywhere in the United States. I interviewed 30 people. No one was unemployed. 30 for 30 were hired. All 30 loved their job. We're already out of the United States right there. 30 for 30 are not hired. And 70% of those hate their jobs. So we're not in the United States. We're not in Kansas anymore. We're in another place where everyone is employed, loves their job, has a college education, has spacious time, has magnificent parks, has bicycle lanes that are 2 bicycles wide, with separate bicycle signals at every street, has free bicycles littering the city, has minimal anxiety, has magnificent art, has low crime, has 100% free health care, loves their country. You can't ask 30 Americans anywhere, do you love your country? Gets even worse when you ask, do you love your government? Oh, I like my country, but I hate my government. Love their country, love their government. I was really expecting a backlash on the high taxes. Not one resisted or resented the high taxes. They all said, look, I have a terrific life, and so do all of my friends. And I don't have to worry about any of them being on the street, getting sick, being unemployed, families falling apart through lack of financial. No. This is a great system. And I looked at it and I said, you're right. You're absolutely right. It's an identity. It's a different pattern of thinking, a different pattern of speaking, a different pattern of believing, and a different pattern of behaving, which leads to a different pattern of feeling. And they're 400% happier on average. Now, an intelligent person would say, I want to be more like Denmark. Now, an intelligent person would look around the rest of the world and say, screw Denmark. I want to be more like this country it's doing it even better. I want to be part of the best pattern of thinking, feeling, speaking, doing, and behaving to create the most amount of sustainable well-being with the least amount of energy. That's what I want to be. But that's not what cults and cultures and identities do. That's not what egos do. They look at something that's different, and particularly traumatized identities are afraid of the unknown, which means they're afraid of change, which means that anything different than they are is the enemy. Anything different that's a threat. To what? What is it a threat to? How is free healthcare a threat to you? Well, I don't have free healthcare. I would have to change in order to have free healthcare. Yes, and what's the problem with that? Well, I don't trust change. That's not me. That's one of those foreign things. A traumatized identity has experienced the tidal wave of overwhelming mass, the steamroller of sociopathic and dysfunctional, unattuned and unregulated forces from their parents, from their cult, from their teachers, from their government, ripshawing over their bodies. You just look on the television where you have, in Florida, a scientist publishing accurate coronavirus results. Why do they need to send a SWAT team and point guns at her 2-year-old child? Really necessary? Just to access her laptop? Did she refuse to enter the door? Did she call in a bomb scare? No. It's just governments communicating, as every bully does. If we don't like what you're doing, we will traumatize the shit out of you with your own public tax dollars. We'll send in a SWAT team because it looks good on TV. Our identity as righteous, powerful people able to overcome 2-year-old infants in their own homes. I mean, think of how much power it takes to bully a 2-year-old. It's wonderful, isn't it? All the SWAT gear, big trucks, and then look at us on TV. We're being the identity of a SWAT team. Is it intelligent? Is that the least? Like, one person in plain clothes could go up to the woman, say, I have a warrant, would you please hand me your laptop? And if she refused, well, then could stand by and call for backup. You'd have less consumption of energy, less trauma, same result. But is that how the police are going to feel important? Now, screw the tax dollars and screw the 2-year-old who's going to grow up resenting the police. You know, that 2-year-old is going to learn for the rest of his life that his police and his government is a fucking bully who scares his mother for telling the truth. Well, any intelligent teenager is going to be pissed off at that government, may even get angry, and then justify the SWAT team's existence in the first place, right? You see, because identities are self-perpetuating. They create the basis for being by being in the identity. I am this, and this only makes sense. See, some identities are insane. You know, the SWAT team and the 2-year-old. It's insane. No sane person, no intelligent person says, we just don't have enough SWAT teams around. All these 2-year-olds, you know, they need to be shot. So as an identity diverges from reality, you know, a superpower needs more money to protect the peace because there aren't any more wars. So we've got to protect the peace. You over there, be peaceful. You want to fight about it? Be peaceful. Well, we need an identity. The default of a psychologically illiterate cult or ego is self-referential. The fact that I exist is the only thing that I need to know to justify that existence. And the more scared and paranoid I am, the more bad and frightening the world is, consistent with that identity. And the more scared and frightened the world is, the more I need to be scared and I need to attack and defend against that frightening world. So an identity ultimately needs some context. One of the things that goes on with Iraqi veterans coming back from duty is they develop PTSD in Iraq, and they are hyper-vigilant at every corner and trying to block and deny all the bullets that are there. They're actually there, right? Because when you invade another country when people don't want to be invaded, and you shoot at them and you kill 1 million innocent Iraqis, you know, for democracy and weapons of mass destruction, you will actually meet resistance. Well, now you've got to have more guns to fight the resistance, right? So, and then they're fighting back, and wouldn't you know it, they blew up your car. You know, it's horrible. Here you are trying to save the world, and those fucking cowards just blew up your car. You were just saving the world, following the peace mission of the United States, and someone blew up your car in their country, defending one of their relatives, one of their friends, had their legs shot off, who had a smart bomb. Very smart, right? Just blow up innocent people. It's very smart. In an effort to find weapons of mass destruction. Let's destroy an entire country in an effort to find weapons of mass destruction. Well, by the time you're there, you are it. You are the imaginary weapon of mass destruction. So veterans come back having formed a trauma-based identity after being blown up and this and that and the other, completely predictable. Meaning our military puts our young people into situations where they will develop trauma, and the trauma will not be healed, and the trauma will become the new identity called PTSD, a trauma-based identity, where my pattern of thinking, feeling, speaking, and doing, who I know to be me, is the one in the most horrific moments of my life trying to survive in the most horrific moments of my life. And I will relive those memories over and over again. And I will respond to the memories as if they're in the present. And my identity is now the worst moments of my entire life. And then my government will discharge me from duty. Now, the body memories are still there. The memories are replaying. Any moment in my life, the door slams in the kitchen, I immediately feel like I'm about to be blown up. I react explosively and violently, and I start to feel crazy because everyone says it's just a fucking door. Stop reacting. But my identity is now the trauma. So it takes the very slightest cue to trigger the trauma, and I don't know who I am. Without it, I lost the pattern. The violence, the hate, the explosion was so big it shattered the pattern of my old identity. I used to laugh, get up, and say, well, we'll try it again another day. But after watching 5 of my buddies blow across a street and having to pick up the remains of broken legs, that identity doesn't make any sense anymore. What do you mean? We'll pick it up and carry on tomorrow. There's another day. No harm done. What do you mean? There is fucking harm done. I shot 3 old ladies today because I thought they were carrying IEDs. That's harm. A whole family is bereft and is not going to have a father back. That's harm. It's not just pick it up. No, this is serious. The old identity was shattered with overwhelming trauma. And I don't know who I am. I've lost the pattern. I can't remember. Put something back together again. It's too broken. I can't find the pattern. And even if I can, in the abstract, it doesn't feel like the right pattern for this world that I'm in. So I identify with the trauma and I develop PTSD in the traumatic pattern. I now know who I am. I am the one going through the worst hell of my life, fighting for my life, where every sound is a threat. That is me. I know that pattern, and I'm holding on to this pattern for dear life because it kept me alive and because the last pattern didn't prepare me for this trauma. But I go home, I feel insane because everyone looks at me remembering the old pattern of thinking, feeling, speaking, and doing. And they say, that pattern made more sense. We liked you more when you smiled. We liked you when you didn't hit little George. We liked you when the dog wasn't whimpering in terror because you kicked him or pulled out a gun and fired at the wall because he moved his tail. We liked that old pattern, more than the new pattern you developed to survive severe trauma. That's the one we want. And it's not easy. It's easy to shatter an old identity with an IED. It's easy to shatter an identity if you rape someone's wife, brutally murder their daughter, steal all their money, and lock you up to a near-death starvation when you're discovered 16 days later. It's easy. That's destroyed the old pattern. Sense of humor out the window. Sense of justice, forget it. Hope in mankind, you loathe and despise mankind. There's a new pattern in town. A new pattern of believing, thinking, feeling, speaking, doing. And you think, you know, do I want to go back to that other, it was a pleasant pattern, but someone can rip that away from me at any moment. You see, in the worst state in the human psyche is helplessness and pain. Helplessness and deep traumatic pain is a state that anyone can induce in another human being. And anyone experiencing it will do anything at all, to avoid feeling chronically. If you leave someone in helpless trauma, they will do anything at all, to escape that feeling. Now, one of the few things that an individual has available to them is they have the ability to create more pain themselves. Now you look at the phenomena of cutting, where you have severely abused children in traumatized households. That's America for you. And you have this phenomena where the most satisfying thing that teenagers all across the country can do is cut themselves. Now, if you understand that the lowest state in the state continuum of the human heart and its thermometer, like, you know, what's 50 degrees below zero in the human heart? It is profound helplessness, trauma, loneliness, overwhelm, shock, and a thought that no one cares and that they are betrayed. Now, if you will feed this recipe into the identity machine of a human ego, and all you have to do is traumatize them, refuse them any help, shut them up, lie to them, and then pretend like nothing's happened, you will induce people into a thermometer state that is 50 below zero. It's worse than death. They will do anything to get out of it possible. But what happens if the power structure pretends like nothing's going on? You know, in a psychologically illiterate cult, there are so many razor-like wounds to the soul that are completely invisible. The child is in trauma and grief, and the parent comes in and smiles and says, "How's everyone doing?" In 1 second, a knife goes through that child. It's very clear. I don't want to see you. I don't want to empathize with you. I don't want to talk about your pain. I want you to shift into my state and bury it. We all agreed? Okay, everyone's saying they're fine. Good. Now I'm going to go ignore you and watch TV, because that's what I wanted to do anyway. And I would have felt guilty if I saw you screaming there and went and watched TV. And so first I have to convince you to play ball, which is to tell me that you feel great, because now I'm a great parent going and watching the TV that I wanted to do. You've just heard for the 10,000th time that you have absolutely no value other than to make your narcissistic parent feel good. And that you will be punished if you don't lie to facilitate that particular game. Helpless? Pain? What happened? It's too dangerous to even think about as an 8-year-old. But you feel like shit. And you know you'll be punished. If you escalate, you could go and bother Dad when he's watching TV, right? Yeah, with the potato chips and the beer and all that. You could bother him and say, Dad, I feel bad. What is it? What is it? What is it? I feel bad. Is anyone hurting you? Get out of here. I'm watching TV. Do I have to hit you? I don't know. Do you have to? Is that what empathy takes? A beating? Well, you learn pretty quick that the way to get through that is to lie. So you develop a synthetic identity on top of the hurting identity. And even you believe it. Because you want to believe in this identity. This is the identity where Dad gives you at least a high five, right? High five as he's leaving the house. We're a great family. It's wonderful. It's like, I hope so. I had nightmares again. Didn't want to get out of bed. But wouldn't it be nice if we were a nice family? Let's go along with Dad. He likes it. He'll give us a high five rather than a scowl. Look at Joey. Joey told the truth. You saw him last night. He pointed out, I didn't like this and this and this. And Dad's face got darker and darker until Joey was sent to his room. And nothing was said about it. But everyone else who said it was wonderful, oh, it's great, isn't it? We know what our roles are. So a synthetic identity, and couldn't we believe this? It's wonderful, everything's great. The new identity is supported by the giant in the room. We get lollipops and high fives and ignored, but we would have been ignored anyways. We're just not being beaten and ignored. So that's constant. Dad has his identity, but what about us? Mother has her identity too, black eye every now and again, but she's not going to say, I feel trapped, I feel hatred, I don't know how to leave this marriage because I think you'd beat the shit out of our kids, and I don't know how to earn an income, and I don't feel confident in myself because I've taken too many beatings to feel valuable as a woman. And I think I'll get punished if I step out of line and actually start behaving like a valuable human being. My parents aren't going to support me. I can't hold the identity of a valuable person. But I remember. I put it back together with memory day after day. The identities of the cruelty. The identities of valuelessness. Now, as you move from the worst possible identity in human states imaginable, which is helpless, traumatized pain, you move to the next level in the rung, which is in your control, which is self-harm. Now, this is the genius of cutting. Someone who feels helpless and in enormous pain is so shut down. Their body wants to die so much to get out of that feeling. They can't get out of bed. But you take the authority back and say, no, no, no. I can't stop the pain, but I can stop the helplessness. I feel out of control and terror of the next attack, but I can take that power back because I can't stop the next attack, but I can attack myself first. And this accomplishes a tremendous amount in the psyche. It says unequivocally that I'm in control of my own pain. Now, this gives the illusion to the psyche that I can then get out of it, right? If I'm in control, I can get out of it. And you can watch the dynamic in abusive relationships anytime you want. will be a bully enters the scene with someone with repressed trauma, and in some way communicates that I have more power than you. You're a piece of shit. Now, see if you can say anything back to me. Because if you do, I'll hit you, and you know that. And so you're not going to say anything. See? Okay, fine. We've established that I'm alpha, and I'm a bully. And we've established that you have no power. Good, that's the little power hit that I needed, because of course I feel completely powerless in my own psyche, and that's my antidote. Good, okay. Now, what does happen in a lot of relationships? Well, you'll find that person gets in a car and drives into a tree an hour later. Doesn't care. You'll find them cutting themselves. You'll find them drinking into a stupor. You'll find them spending money they don't have and saying, fuck it, I'll ruin my finances. I can destroy my own life faster than you can. I've got the power, right? The identity can't be shifted because there's a mass dynamic. I'm bigger than you. I've got more money than you. I've got more social rank than you. I've got more articulating talent than you. You cannot survive outside of my protection. And because of that, I'll treat you any way I want. Now, this is, of course, an externalized conversation of the bully. Meaning the bully has a terrified, weak, feminine part of themselves that was slapped around, humiliated, made fun at, kicked, beaten up, bullied, beaten to death as a child. And that part inside feels absolute worthlessness. And the system was too big. The bully was too strong. That part collapsed. And the psyche says, I don't want to be that one. I don't want to identify with a collapsed weakling in a cult that attacks me for being weak. So I'm going to let go of that identity, and I'm going to identify with the person who beat the hell out of me. I want to be that role. If those are my options in an abuse cult, I'd rather be the one that beats the shit out of people than be the one who's helplessly waiting for the next beating. Because then I've got the power. And anytime I feel weak and helpless and terrified on my left side, I'll go and hit someone on my right side to remind me that I'm not this person, I'm this person. And I've got the power. I feel better. Well, the one who's left now in the new helpless state, helplessness is worse than pain. Helplessness is worse than pain. So if I can just act, my wife, when she was 8 years old, found herself in one of these, just horrendous abuse cults of a family. Well, how could you defy at 8 years old in a cult that worships the parent as if they can do no wrong, where everyone sides with the parent to protect the giant from the slightest pushback from the child rather than to protect the children from the giant? She couldn't win that conversation. So she grabbed her hair and pulled out sections of her hair. And that was her act of defiance. You think dragging me around in a sack and beating me is going to break me? Watch me pull out handfuls of my own hair at age 7. I can cause my pain more than you can. I'm in control. Now, it takes a particularly sociopathic, psychologically illiterate, and abusive cult to induce a 7-year-old into that behavior. But it's kind of smart, because in that action, she's claiming her autonomy. She's stepping out of helpless trauma into self-initiated trauma. Now she has a new identity. I am not the helpless victim waiting and has no power. I am the strong one who harms myself more than my parents do. Well, now she's got some backbone because she's got some autonomy. Also, her parents are horrified because they don't dare, even in their cruelest moments, to grab their children's hair and rip it out. Because even they, as narcissistic, as chauvinistic, as corrupt as their identity is as parents, even they would have to acknowledge that they were shits if that's what they did. So she learned to threaten them with self-harm if they harmed her, and they chickened out. So she won. She was autonomous. She had control. You see, and you cannot grow up, you cannot develop into a distinct human being until you have autonomy. Now, heaven help us. Heaven help our planet that the equation we give to 7-year-old girls is tear out your own hair or be broken and give up on life. But there is something encouraging in the fact that faced with that degree of sociopathic cruelty, of course it's good Catholicism, right? But let's get real here. Sociopathic cruelty, of parental illiteracy, of emotional illiteracy, of psychological illiteracy, that despite the profound stupidity of her parents, she grew up and learned because she drew her own line. She held on to the determination to be powerful, which is necessary in one's orbit. To break orbit out of the nuclear family, to break orbit from your cult dogma, you've got to exert the force of a rocket to get out beyond the atmosphere of your abuse cult. You cannot form your own version of an abuse cult until you get outside of that orbit. It takes energy and it takes power. The kind of power that's involved in grabbing a handful of your own hair, looking your abuser in the face, and ripping it out. I'm not afraid of pain, and I will not be dominated by your cowardice and your cruelty anymore. Well, that's a woman worth marrying. No wonder. I look around and say, yeah, I don't know anyone that together we create so many good things. You don't get to lie a lot when you grow up in that level of cruelty. You don't get to hide the human shadow. You see a lot that many people are too frightened to see. I like cutters. I've found them to be amongst the most conscious, present, sensitive, and integrated human beings. They're not materialist chauvinists that say, oh, it's fine if someone destroys my soul, as long as my body looks nice, right? Because that's generally the law, isn't it? You can tear someone's self-esteem to shreds just as long as you don't slap them in the face. If you slap them in the face, might wake them up, might be good for them. It's spousal abuse. Just undermine them in such a way that they have absolutely no confidence that anything about them has any merit whatsoever, and punish them, rage at them when they do good things that might lead to them breaking orbit. Well, you've got chauvinism at its best. Destroy the soul, but protect the breasts, right? Can't let any little damage happen to the outside. And the cutter is the one that says, no, I'm going to mark each of my inner scars with an outer scar so that I'm an integrated person. Cutters don't lie to a large extent. And if the cult wants to pretend that the inner wound is invisible and means nothing, they'll just give you an outer wound. Okay, how about this wound? How about this one? How about this one? Do any of these mean anything? Because these wouldn't be here if these weren't here. And you gave them to me. You're the one that said that my parents were so great and how lucky I was to have them. You gave them to me. And you buried them with those lies. And you covered it up so you wouldn't have to respond and protect a small child. And you covered it up because you were too lazy to look. And these are the scars of our psyche. This isn't personal. This is a dysfunctional cult interacting with itself at a low level of consciousness and committed to maintain its integrity of identity more than it is committed to becoming psychologically literate, which would change the identity. Self-referential cults and self-referential egos ask one question: is that how I would behave based on past behavior? If it isn't, I don't like it. It's change. It's the unknown. It's mysterious. Now, how about someone that wants to change? You're tired of being enraged. You're tired of feeling like a victim. You're tired of looking in the mirror and saying, yeah, that's the same me I've been looking at 10,000 times. And I want to change. Well, there's a weight that imprinted, that formed that identity. Thousands and thousands of body sensations and affirmations from around the cult rewarded that identity for existing, allowed that identity to exist, and you're not sure they'll let you come into a new space. For example, the identity of the king, the identity of the magnificent one. That's way more fun, but it's also way more fragile. It requires cooperation. Now, if you want to be an angry victim, you don't need a single person in the room to cooperate with you. You just remember the old stuff. But if you're coming in as the magnanimous one, it shatters if everyone ignores you and gives you hostile stares. I'm the magnanimous one. You know, the magnanimous one requires some validation within the cult to say, we will treat you, we agree to treat you as a magnanimous one. I'm not giving it. I'm not giving it. You know, this envy dynamic of knocking down anyone that breaks out of their identity. Well, why? Why? What if someone just totally changes and, you know, their blue hair isn't a face? What's the problem? Well, fear of change. If everyone else is afraid of change and you're changing now, they're afraid of you. If they're afraid of you changing, they're going to, at some level, undermine every one of those changes. You get an award for some creative project you did, and say, wasn't that good? What do they know at the award ceremony? It wasn't that good. Get back in your place and be a little shit. Because that's the one I know, and I don't really know how to treat you if you're a great artist. How does one treat great artists? I don't want to learn that. Just be a little shit because I know how to treat you as a little shit. I know how to treat you as a little shit because I was treated like a little shit, and now I get to do that. And it doesn't require any thought. It's highly conserving of energy. No thought. So we need an identity. We could call it ego, whatever. We need an identity to know where we are and what to do, because only through that identity do we have any clue, go we left or right here? You know, if I have the identity and I know where I'm going to 354 Broadway, then I know when I come to the intersection, do I turn left or right based on whether it takes me there. But if I don't know where I'm going, I have no idea where to turn. If I don't have any idea where to turn, I just get overwhelmed and lost and run out of gas and, you know, am I there yet? I don't know. You see? We need an identity. And a helpless, painful identity is unbearable. So we move it to a painful, stable identity. And pain is the easiest thing to sustain. You know, just say horrible things about yourself in your head and you will feel horrible. Do uncomfortable things with your body and push it past its limit. Your body will feel horrible. You know, hang out with people who abuse you. You'll feel socially horrible. And no one will take that away from you. There'll never be a dearth of miserable, psychologically illiterate people to support your identity of self-induced misery. It's profoundly reliable. So the reliability need is now met. So we go from helpless trauma to self-induced misery, and we're making progress because we're moving to autonomy. Now the question is this all there is? Am I just going to live a life of misery, or could I bring it up to apathy? From sheer despair, could I bring it up to apathy, or grudging resentment with a little smile to make other people happy, and then a cynicism that they don't really know me? Okay, we're getting somewhere. We're moving up, you know, into adolescent terrain. But the identity that we form is ultimately the identity that we demonstrate to ourselves we are capable of holding. Now, every single human being in the history of humanity has wanted at some level to have an identity of sustainable fun and conscious joy. It's the highest point on the thermometer. And so it's where we're all going, you know, in terms of if you give someone absolute certainty that no one can knock them off it, they will pick the highest state. But the reality is you cannot give someone that certainty. That certainty is down at the bottom. Misery, pain, self-pity, completely reliable. You're going to hang on to it forever. Conscious fun and joy, it's fragile. There's a couple of reasons for that. Sustainable misery comes out of the reptilian and limbic brain. They're very old, deep brains. They have a lot of neuronal programming in them, etc. They're also completely self-absorbed. The reptilian brain is completely narcissistic. So it's contained. Transcendent joy is coming from the transcendent regions of the brain. Now, by the time you get to the empathic regions of the brain, you have empathy for everyone around you. If you have empathy for everyone around you, it bothers you when they're in pain. You don't empathize with a raped 6-year-old and say, oh, well, I feel so happy that I'm happy in all my empathy. No. Empathy functions with the law of the lowest common denominator. It's the old circle in the Buddhist temple. You have 100 monks chanting along, transcendent state, let's just pretend. Transcendent state. La da 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 da. All is one, all is one, all is one. One guy gets out a gun, shoots the Buddha at the altar, stands up, and says, "Who's next?" Well, the la da 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 comes down to an end, right? We're dealing with a lowest common denominator phenomena, the higher the human state. See, this is why we only get to reach our full potential together. There's no tricking the psyche or the species. I'll just be in blissed out, sustainable love forever, and everyone else will just continue suffering. The higher that state, the more fragile it is, because it's using different parts of the brain. The empathic brain feels good when everyone else is feeling good and feels bad when everyone else is feeling bad. That's what empathy is. It's acknowledging coexistence in a shared ecology. It's this finger saying, you know, when someone bangs a hammer on you, I don't feel too hot about it either, because we're part of one organism. In the reptilian brain, we're not. That's you over there. Fuck you. You got a dumbass bruised thumb? Well, don't waste time with me. I'm doing my own thing over here. Now, the fact that in reality, my thing over here is affected because now I only have one hand and they could have cooperated. Reptiles don't cooperate anyway. So it's not like they would have cooperated if the thumb was... No, reptiles are narcissistic, sociopathic, incredibly dysfunctional, and self-absorbed. So why would you care if another reptile hit their thumb other than maybe more food for you? But when you start looking at culture and community, now you're dealing with the empathic brain. Well, the empathic brain hurts when someone in your circle hurts. Now you can become now reptilian and throw them out of the circle. Or your state goes down a little bit and you share some of their sorrow. Now this is also moving towards intelligence and it's moving towards strength. Why? Well, trauma without any help destroys an entire lifetime. If you give people PTSD and dump them out with no care and medicine, the lifetime is shot. Whether or not it looks good on the outside, it's certainly shot on the inside, and usually the toxins on the inside start leaching out to the outside and undermining the cult in some way as is appropriate. Because if a cult fucks you up, that cult is not good for you and your species. So it's a good thing that you're undermining the cult that's fucking up the species. And how do you know the cult is fucking up the species? Well, it gave you PTSD and your friend PTSD and then just left you there and blamed you. That's pretty fucked up. Yes, it is. That's a fucked up cult. Yes, it is. That cult is doing damage. Yes, it is. So let's get rid of it. Let's challenge it. Let's undermine it. Why? Maybe a better cult will come along that takes better care of its people. This is core mathematics at a psyche level. It's not morality. It's what happens. Every single social system in human history, whether it's the Romans and their treatment of the Christians or anything, when you tyrannize your minority, your minorities stop cooperating with you. A little bit later, they start attacking you. Why? Because your system, your identity is the enemy of human well-being. By definition, that they are miserable in your system and you don't give a shit. They'll destroy the system. Why? So that a better system can take place. It's not going to be an endless vacuum of chaos. You knock down a system that disenfranchises and puts thousands of people down on the street. The next system treats the homeless a little better. It's that simple. at every level, there is a deep interconnectedness between the minorities in a group and the majority. But if the majorities don't know that and behave sociopathically and cause unimaginable harm to the minority, eventually the minority undermines the system that works for the majority but is screwing over the minority, as it should. No intelligent person supports a system that systematically diminishes their well-being. Why would you? If you care about sustainable well-being for yourself and those you love, and this system is destroying sustainable well-being for yourself and those you love, is that a good system for an intelligent person? No. So, do you build the system, support it, let it grow, or do you dismantle it and put in a system that does a better job? Now that's, of course, the caveat. When you dismantle a system, if you don't have any thought and vision and intelligence, you just put together another crappy system. You have one crappy president, you vote him out of office, and you get another crappy president, and vote him out of office. I mean, the challenge is not just change, it's change measurable in the direction of intelligence, which is the efficiency with which sustainable well-being is generated per unit of energy consumed. As widely distributed as possible, so you don't have a system that's very good for this group of people and absolutely horrible for the well-being of another group of people. That's a less stable system because it's going to have enemies, as it should, because the enemy, when a system is the enemy of a group of people, in time the group of people will become an enemy of the system. If a company is the enemy of a group of its employees, those group of employees will eventually organize to dismantle the system that is persecuting them. That's evolution for you. That should happen. Nature makes sure of it. Because the system that should prevail does more than the last system to provide more well-being to more people with less energy consumed in the process. We have an unsustainable system right now. If every one of the 8 billion people all consumed as much energy as an American, first of all, the planet would collapse. And secondly, the rest of the planet would be miserable. Because 70% of Americans are miserable. But they're consuming more energy than any other system per capita in the history of humanity. And they're not leaping over joy with boundless vision and delight. They're depressed, angry, miserable. So in other words, we're taking huge sums of energy to be depressed, angry, lonely, confused, and fat. It's not intelligent. Why should that system continue being the system? It shouldn't. It's not in evolution's interest, and so it will not. To the degree that the identity of an American is someone who sits around griping, watching TV, and getting fat while buying things that consume vast amounts of natural resources and not enjoying them, that system will be downvoted. And another system that's more intelligent will take its place. That's as it should be.